Salutations YouTube. First off, I want to say I'm sorry for not uploading yesterday. I was absolutely fucked. I was literally dead to the world. But I'm here to make it for you today. And this one was a request from a lovely lady friend of mine. So if you're watching this, thank you. And if you've not seen the preview, basically it's about another serial killer couple. Now you could argue that the Brits had the worst of them, but we've done the West, so we're not getting into that one. This one is about the Moors murderers. If you're not familiar with that, then I'll read it to you now, or explain it to you in detail from the notes I've written. And if you have heard of them, then good, saves me a job. But if you're interested, listen on. But first off, get yourself a drink, get yourself a snack, and make yourself comfortable. Today we're drinking Monster Pacific Punch. I think that's what I was drinking last time, but oh well. Anyway, Ian Brady and Myra Hindley still rank as perhaps the world's most infamous killers. Their bizarre and deviant sexual relationship drove them to torture and murder defenseless children for pleasure in a case of serial killing that appalled the world. The idea that Hindley may one day be released from prison elicits howls of protest from the public. Nobody, least of all himself, however, has ever contemplated freeing Brady. When Hindley met Brady, he was already a deeply warped 21-year-old stock clerk at Millwoods, which was a chemical company in Manchester. His mind was full of sadistic fantasies. He had a collection of Nazi memorabilia and listened to recordings of Nazi rallies. While in his lunch hour, he read Adolf Hitler's autobiography, Mein Kampf, which if you've not read it, it's basically when he wrote it when he was in prison, and it translates to My Struggle. And he studied German grammar. He believed in the Nazi cause and regretted that he had not been part of his terrible excesses. For her part, Hindley was known as a loner. Her first boyfriend had died when she was 15. She had not been able to sleep for days afterwards and had turned to the Roman Catholic Church for consolation. I've noticed a theme. All killers and genuinely evil people always turn to church or religion. Mad. At school, it was noted that she was tough, aggressive, and rather masculine, and that she enjoyed contact sports and judo, none of which suited her to the genteel life of 1950s Britain. At the age of 19, she became a typist at Millwoods, where she met Brady. He impressed her immediately. She considered most of men whom she knew to be immature, but Brady dressed well and rode a motorbike. She wrote in her diary, Ian wore her black shirt today and looked smashing. I love him. For nearly a year, Brady took no notice of her. However, the pig didn't even look at me today, she wrote more than once. Finally, in December 1961, he asked her out, to which her diary said, Eureka. I mean, who the fuck says Eureka nowadays, right? Today we have our first date. We are going to the cinema. Banging first date, to be fair. The film they saw was a judgment at Nuremberg, which was about the trial of Germany's leading Nazis following World War II, which, if you remember, Brady was interested in the war and Nazi stuff. Hindley rapidly surrendered her virginity to Brady, later writing, I hope Ian and I love each other all of our lives and get married and are happy ever after. Yet their relationship would not be as innocent as her hopeful world suggests. For Hindley soon became Brady's sex slave. That's another thing I've noticed with these serial killers as well. There's always some sort of sexual motive. He introduced her to sexual perversion and urged her to read his books on Nazi atrocities. Because that's some fucking brilliant bonding time with your missus, isn't it? They also took pornographic photographs of each other and kept them in a scrapbook. Showed some wheals across Hindley's buttocks that had been left by a whip. Wheals? Welts. I can't read my fucking writing. Hindley subsequently gave up babysitting and going to church, Within 6 months, she and Brady were living together at her grandmother's house because her grandmother was a frail woman who spent most of her time in bed. They had the roof, they had the run of the place. Brady persuaded Hindley to bleach her brown hair, a Teutonic blonde, and dressed her in leather skirts and high-heeled boots. He often called her Myra Hess, or Hessie, after a sadistic Nazi concentration camp guard. Yep, this guy's obsessed. Life with Brady made Hindley hard and cruel. She did anything that Brady asked of her, and did not balk at procuring children for him to abuse, torture, and kill. Their first victim was a 16-year-old Pauline Reed, who disappeared on the 12th of July 1963 on her way to a dance. They persuaded Pauline to go for a walk on the nearby Saddleworth Moor, where they killed and buried her. 4 months later, Hindley hired a car and abducted the 12-year-old John Kilbride. When she returned the car, it was covered with mud from the moors. Brady and Hindley laughed when they read about the massive police hunt that was being undertaken to find the missing boy. In May 1964, Hindley bought a car of her own, which is a white minivan. So it's not really a car, is it, really? It's a van. During the following month, the 12-year-old Keith Bennett went missing. Like the other victims, Hindley and Brady buried him on Saddleworth Moor. At Brady's behest, Hindley then joined a local gun club and bought pistols for them both, which they practiced firing on the moors. It gives a whole new meaning to the term banging on the moors. Not really a term, but hey, love, do you fancy a bang on the moors? Ooh, I see what you mean. No, I meant the guns. I'll be shooting something, but it ain't going to be, you know what it is, it's going to be a gun. And that's just I'm sorry, that's just a shit joke. Sex joke, I'm sorry. While they were there, they visited the graves of their victims, photographing each other, kneeling on them. On Boxing Day 1964, they abducted the 10-year-old Leslie Ann Downey. This time they were determined to derive the utmost perverted pleasure from their defenceless victim. They accordingly forced her to pose nude for pornographic photographs and then tortured her, recording her screams before strangling her and burying her with others on Saddleworth Moor. Can I just say, you've got a gun and you're strangling someone, why don't you just fucking shoot them? Not that I'm condoning any of it, but if you've got a gun, what's the point in strangling someone? Brady now wanted to extend his sphere of evil influence, claiming to recruit Myra's 16-year-old brother-in-law, David Smith, to their perverted circle. Brady showed Smith his guns and talked to him about robbing a bank. He also lent him books about the Marquis de Sade, from whose name the word sadism is derived, and persuaded him to write down quotations dictated by Brady. Murder is a hobby and a supreme pleasure. Or, people are like maggots, small, blind, worthless fish bait. Smith immediately wrote in an exercise book under Brady's guidance. Brady believed that he could lure anyone into his world of brutality and murder, and bragged to Smith about the murders that he had committed. They were drinking at the time, and Smith thought that Brady was joking. So Brady decided to prove his capacity for murder and simultaneously ensnare Smith by making him a party to a killing. On the 6th of October 1965, Brady and Hindley picked up Edward Evans, a 17-year-old homosexual, in a Manchester pub. They then called Smith and asked him to come to their house at midnight. And that's a bit of a red flag, innit? You wouldn't do that nowadays. When he arrived, he heard a cry coming from the sitting room, which is actually a living room, my bad. "Help him, Dave," said Hindley, and Smith rushed into the room to find a youth in a chair, with Brady sitting astride him. Brady held an axe in his hands, which he brought down onto the boy's head, hitting him at least 14 times. That's a bit of an headache. "It's the messiest," Brady said with some satisfaction. "Usually it only takes one blow." Brady then handed the axe to the dumbstruck Smith, and this was an attempt to incriminate Smith by putting his fingerprints on the murder weapon. Do they even have fingerprints back then in the 50s or 60s, whenever this was? Let me know in the comments. Although Smith was terrified by what he had seen, he helped to clean up the blood while Brady and Hindley wrapped the boy's body in a plastic sheet. The couple made jokes about the murder as they carried the corpse downstairs. After that, Hindley made a cup of tea. Britain. Just kill someone, you're out of breath. Have a cup of tea, it'd be right. Mitchell made a cup of tea and they all sat down. You should have seen the look on his face, said Hindley, who was flushed with excitement. She then started reminiscing about the murders that she and Brady had previously committed. Although Smith could not believe what was happening, he realised that he would be their next victim if he showed any signs of disgust or outrage. After a decent interval, he made his excuses and left. When he got back to his flat, he was violently ill. Smith told his wife what had happened, who urged him to go to the police. At dawn, armed with a knife and a screwdriver, the couple went out to a phone box and reported the murder. A police car picked them up and took them to the police station, where Smith told his lurid tale to incredulous policemen. When the police visited Hindley's house at 8:40 a.m. to check out Smith's story, however, they found Edward Evans' body in the back bedroom. Brady admitted to killing Evans during an argument and then tried to implicate Smith in the murder. Hindley merely said, "My story is the same as Ian's. Whatever he did, I did. The only emotion that he showed was when she told that her dog had died. You fucking murderers," she screamed at the police. The police found a detailed plan that Brady had drawn up for the removal from the house of all clues to Evans' murder. Curiously, one of the items listed was Hindley's prayer book. When the police examined it, they discovered that a left luggage ticket from Manchester Station had been struck down in its spine. Upon following the lead at the left luggage office, the police found 2 suitcases containing books on sexual perversion, as well as coches and photographs of a naked and gagged Leslie Ann Downey. The tape that had recorded her screams, which was later played to the stunned courtroom at Chester Assizes, was also discovered. Other photographs showed Hindley posing beside graves on Saddleworth Moor, and it was these that subsequently helped the police to locate the bodies of Leslie Ann Downey and John Kilbride. At Brady and Hindley's trial, the truly horrific nature of the murders was revealed. The pathologist disclosed that Edward Evans' fly had been undone and that dog hairs had been found around his anus. I mean, that is how dogs say hello, innit? Sniffing their arses. John Kilbride's body was discovered with his trousers and underpants around his knees. Hindley, it seemed, had been turned on by watching Brady perform homosexual acts on his victims. Later, Brady let it slip that both he and Hindley had been naked when they had photographed Leslie Ann Downey in the nude, but otherwise the pair refused to talk about their crimes. They were sentenced to life imprisonment. Brady did not bother to appeal against the sentence, but Hindley did, but her appeal was rejected. They were refused permission to see each other in jail, although they were allowed to exchange letters. Brady showed no contrition in prison and refused to allow his spirit to be broken, regarding himself as a martyr to his own perverted cause. He gradually became insane. Hindley, however, broke down and petitioned to be released. When her appeal was refused, a warder, who was Hindley's lesbian lover, organised an abortive escape attempt, for which Hindley was sentenced to an additional year in jail. Idiot. She took an Open University degree and gave additional information about the whereabouts of her victims' graves to the police in a bid for mercy. Brady, however, countered her every move by revealing more of her involvement in the crimes, considering any attempt on her part to go free as an act of disloyalty to him. The weight of our crimes justifies permanent imprisonment, Brady told the parole board in 1982. I will not wish to be free in 1985 or even 2005. Hindley still hoped for parole, but public opinion was resolutely against it. After all, the families of their victims were still suffering. And that is where I've left it, because it's a pretty morbid case. You know, it's talking about killing children. No one wants to hear about all that. We discovered that with fucking Fred and Rose. I noticed that as well. Yeah, we've had a lot of killer couples, but they always targeted children. That's why I don't really like about reading about these sort of people, because it's just disgusting. I know. Send them to Maudsley. Send them to Maudsley. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't mind killing them. Sure he wouldn't mind killing a few child killers. But that's where I'm going to leave it, guys. I'm sorry it's short. I'm tired, but I needed to put this out. And thank you. Thank you all. We're very close to 100 subscribers. If we can get that by the end of the month, I'll be eternally grateful. And I don't know what to say. I'm tired. I'm tired, guys. I'm sorry. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. It means a lot. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the channel with your friends, all that amazing stuff. And like, subscribe, and good night. Peace.